everybody, I'm here today with Alan. Hello Alan.
Hello.
So, put the microphone down, that would help. So what it is today, well, Alan has spotted something and it's called quantum language of law. It's called syntax. It's the correct sentence structure. Alan, explain a bit more because it is quite complicated, isn't it? Just explain it a little bit more.
Yeah, it's very interesting stuff. It's the use of words in a sentence properly. You know, using them the right, correct words. What they do is they use the adverb and verb words that mean nothing and no contract, because they're not using the nouns of now time. In fact, because like he said, no law or fact can be tried in a court of law, because they don't deal with law or facts.
I must admit, me and Alan have just re-listened to it, because obviously Alan knows quite a lot about this, and I would say that if you haven't heard about it before, it is a bit complicated. What we're going to do is, we're going to play the video, and then me and Alan are going to talk afterwards, aren't we, Alan?
Okay.
My name is Plenipotentiary Judge David Wynn Miller. I punctuate my name because it makes me a fact and not an adjective pronoun fiction. I'm here to introduce to you to a program to bring this planet out of its adverb world for 8,500 years into a correct sentence structure communication syntax organization. All 250 countries worldwide have been under this adverb guise by the Universal Postal Union, Bern, Switzerland, established in 1873, better known as the New World Order. This technology has been perfected, and misinformation, privileged few are allowed to go free from committing crimes, and others are slapped with serious fines, prison terms for absolutely nothing. When you go looking for case law on the correct sentence structure communication syntax, you will not find anything. You have to be competent enough to understand what the correct sentence structure communication syntax means in order for you to have the knowledge to win your lawsuit. Correct the language that's wrong. The syntax is now on the table. We will write the contracts, the treaties, the trusts, the constitutions, so that the people of the world all know where they stand. And if they know where they stand in a mathematical procedure of communications, written frontwards and backwards, so that no matter how they look at it, there is no subjective interpretation as to what it means or how it is said. And so with this level of accuracy, we are going to change this world. We are going to bring it together under one world order of correctness, just like mathematics. And we're going to use prepositional phrases, and we're going to do it in the correct manner.
You go through 3 stages in life. Your first stage is you do not know what you do not know. No one was aware of syntax until you saw this program. Once you saw it, you were aware of what you did not know, which means you didn't know about the math interface on language. For 8,500 years, the entire population of the planet Earth in 5,000 languages did not know about the math interface on syntax. You were all taught when you were in 5th grade in school, never start a sentence with a prepositional phrase and never end a sentence with a prepositional phrase. Well, if you don't end a sentence with a prepositional phrase, you've got a dangling participle verb as an answer, which means your sentence is incomplete. When the government writes their instructions on most of their forms, they don't use adjectives. They only use adverb, verb, adverb, verb, adverb, verb throughout the entire sentence structure. The human mind is really unique in its ability to use deductive reasoning and logic to create the correct sentence structure communication syntax. So you got to have the knowledge to understand what is being said, because they have a code. No law or fact shall be tried in court. That is their law. That is their oath. Every judge, barrister, lawyer, attorney, worldwide, all countries, all languages swear to this, because for 8,500 years, language has been bastardized. It is adverb-verb illusion. An, act, A-C-T. All words that start with a vowel, A, E, I, O, and U, are followed by 2 consonants, means no contract. You're going to say, where do I find that rule? Look up every word in the dictionary that starts with a vowel and 2 consonants. And all the synonyms that reflect that word, and you will find a no contract, a negative condition of state for every single word. In 4700 BC, Pharaoh said, "So it is written, so it shall be done." There was a reason for that, because oral contracts cannot be seen or proven. Because of the argument, did you hear what I said, what I meant, what I said, when I said, what I meant, what I said? If you don't see it written, you can't prove it. When you write a contract, you go into court, you have a syntax document. Every single sentence is its own independent court as you make an argument. We're not dealing with 150 to 1 variables in an oral conversation, so your paperwork is going to speak for you. It isn't what's written here. I'm writing to show you how many ways I can write it to show you the variables, but when I speak it in one terminology, which one of the 150 variables up here that I just say to you? You don't know that. And because you don't know that, you're going to make a presumption, opinion, presumption, guess, perjury, a lie. How many different mistakes can you make? That's only 3 words. Try doing it with a lawsuit with 30,000 words on it. What do you think your variables are here? You're talking about terabyte to the terabyte power of variables. You can't get to a fact. If you can't have a fact, what are we doing? We're lying to each other. Technology brings us to a position of accuracy that cannot be argued. And the courtroom is a building. That is not the document on the piece of paper. When you write a lawsuit, the paper that you have, this is the court. And of all the 2 million words in the English language, we've got 720 words that are syntaxed. That's it. Pretty simple. Average person has a 12,000 word vocabulary. You only need 720 to learn syntax. And in 99% of the cases, you use less than 50 different words in an entire lawsuit to win your case. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. It's so simple. Once you get it, it's mathematical. This is the court. This is the contract between you and the judge. The courtroom is irrelevant. The seals that are hanging on the walls are irrelevant. This flag is the correct sentence structure communication syntax flag, which advertises that this is correct. You place a postage stamp up on your corner. You sign across it. That makes you the postmaster transporting the vessel of the document to the clerk of the court, which is the port of the court. She puts her stamp on it. When she puts her stamp on it, you sign your name across her stamp, making you a postmaster of not only your paperwork and your vessel, now you're in contract with the port authorities of the court, because this is a courthouse, which is a foreign vessel in dry dock, so you've entered a foreign vessel. Now you're the postmaster and clerk of a foreign vessel in dry dock. Now you've got a 24-karat gold bonded document that has to go into court. But if you're going to sign the stamp on the front, you have to also endorse the back of the top of the cover page, because that's called an endorsement. How many of you can cash a check at the bank without endorsing your check? Nobody. You're going to use your navigator stamp. Your navigator stamp has 2 bars through the dollar sign. You have your dollar signs come in 2 forms. This is a Federal Reserve note, and that's a gold certificate. In the United States, since 1900, the red fox stamp was the only one that was published with 2 bars through the dollar sign. And that was published on the 2nd of November 1999, when the United States ended its 3rd bankruptcy and became sovereign. By bringing communication skills down to a math problem, we remove the ability of an individual to lose his temper or maintain an argument. What we're doing here in syntax is we're showing you that the Bible is written in the Quran, in the Jewish Bible, and all of these different communications worldwide are written in adverb verb. They've left the words out. Why do they leave the words out? Because they can control you. So by learning syntax, you can go back and put the missing words in. In now time, you can remove the prefixes and the suffixes, which are the past and the future, and go to the root words. Then find a root word that means now time information, not the future, not a word that means no contract. If you go through any Bible phrase and you see a word that starts with a vowel and 2 consonants, get a book of synonyms, look up all the synonyms, and list those down, and put those in, and then put the correct prepositional phrase in front of that word. You will learn how to build a sentence correctly from that phrase. That's why this technology scares the courts, because no law, which is a negative condition, and no fact is the only thing that gets tried in court. If you know what syntax is, you can make a mathematical choice. You have better pieces of information to make better decisions to be good. And then if somebody with evil wants to come at you with an illusion called adverb verb, you can say, that's a lie, and I can prove it. It all comes down to who you are, what you know, and what you put on your documents that come into court. On the back of my business card is the whole procedure how to prosecute judges and attorneys. It's already written there for you. You've never had the correct sentence structure, communication, syntax, treaty on any land contract or mortgage in the history of this country's writing. It's going to be fixed when enough people are educated and you vote in syntax. We're not here to break the system. We're here to educate and correct. When I originally said to my mom and dad, I'm going to go out in the world and I'm going to teach this, they said, don't complain about the government because you don't have anything to replace it with. You can't tell somebody he's a liar if you don't have the truth in your hand. Or what my truth was, because I was misled. When you guys learn it, it just opens up your whole world. You can see a lie. You have x-ray vision over everything. Nobody can screw around with you anymore. The cops won't stop you. The courts don't want you in there. There's nothing wrong with a New World Order that's correct where nobody can go to war anymore because you all know how to do things correctly. Having the Masonic teachings is no different than any of the religions in the world. To teach you the difference between good and evil, how to manage people. They're the ones been pulling the strings on the New World Order for 8,500 years. For every 97 followers, you've got 3 chiefs. It's always 3% manages 97%. That ratio hasn't changed since the caveman. And the cream always floats to the top. The syntax separates the wheat from the chaff. There isn't anybody anywhere on this planet today, I don't care how high up in the Illuminati they are, that I can't prove they lied. And I don't have any restrictions as to how high up I go. They still can't take their lie and shove it down our throats because we've proved the lie, we've proved the fact. These are the parts of speech. There's only 10 of them. The adverb is used more in language worldwide than any other syntax of communications. And the adverb is a modifier. Also remember a vowel and 2 consonants. The adverb operation of syntax is a no contract issue because you're modifying the condition of a fact. If you're going to modify something, that's perjury because it's no longer the original fact. When you take a fact and you modify it with an adverb, it becomes what's called a gerund verb, which means a noun used as a verb. It's still a lie. It goes back to a math problem. Is 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27, right? So if I have a fact times a fact times a fact, I'm going to get a fact. But if I do 3 times 3 times 3 times 0 equals 0. Or if I divide, it's still going to be 0. Because a fact times a fact times a fact times a lie equals a lie. There's your math interface. On add, subtract, multiplying, and dividing, you can have a sentence with, let's say, 30 prepositional phrases, completely done correctly, and take the word for out instead of for the witness's knowledge, and then go ahead and write 29 prepositions in the correct order in the sentence, but because you dropped the first 4, now you got an adverb, adjective, pronoun all the way to the end of the sentence, and you've lost all prepositional phrases because you committed a lie to start the sentence, therefore you've lost everything. You can't make any mistakes in this technology. The math will not support it. We use the math to go and check it frontwards and backwards. When you write a sentence backwards, you have to use the opposite prepositions. Every sentence we write starts with a preposition for. You have 2 verbs, is and are, and the word that follows the verb is the word with. These positions of where these prepositions and articles take place are very unique because every sentence is a complete court hearing. You got to follow the rules on every sentence. You can't violate them. You make one mistake in a whole entire document, you made a presumption before the fact, it proves you don't know what you're doing. Don't do something by yourself. Always work as a team. I don't care, the more people you got in your team, the better, because then you got more years of experience to check. That's why law firms do not have a lawyer working alone. He always has 5 or 10 other lawyers reading and signing his papers to say he did it right. The only word that can follow a pronoun is an adverb or a period. When you take 2 nouns and you put them together, black pen. Black is a fact, pen is a fact. But black colors the pen. Therefore, the black now becomes an opinion. Is this a charcoal pen, an ebony pen, or a black pen? See, I can have, there's 1,200 shades of black. So what shade is it? It's subjective interpretation as to what it means, so therefore it's an opinion. Like he has a red shirt on. Trying to explain color red to a blind person that's never seen color. Impossible. So your opinion of an adjective to color something or to modify something is impossible. Therefore, your opinion, presumption, modification has no bearing with the facts of what you're trying to do. I can change the value of any word I want based on where I place it and knowing what the value of syntax is. When you're dealing with an illusion, the subjective interpretation of where you put value or the weight of that word, where you put the emphasis on that word, is going to make a determination how it is. Adjective, coloring. Adjective always modifies the pronoun. Adverbs modify the adjective, which modifies the pronoun. Pronoun is any word that stands alone. Pen is a pronoun because there's no contract to make a determination as to what this this means. The position is the terms of what your contract is. And once you have your terms of your contract established, we then can have the loadial ownership, which is original. And with these two together, we now have a fact. And once we have a fact, it will become the positional loadial fact phrase. And then you have past time. Past time would be words that end in ed, or the adverb from, or the prepositional phrase from. Either way, you are removed from now time. There is no such thing as the past or the future. There is only now time. You will always be in now time. The future is a crapshoot. Hasn't happened yet. We'll figure that out when we get there. So it doesn't happen. And the conjunction is and or. Again, and or you have to define. It's not a presumption. The word and by itself is not a conjunction because it doesn't attach to anything. It's a pronoun. Or is the same thing. It's a pronoun unless you take jurisdiction for it. Every word that you use on your papers, you must define those. You want an and or as a conjunction and an is and an are as a verb, you have to separate a definition under your abbreviations and say these words mean these things and put it right up there at the beginning of the document. That way a judge can't say, that's going to be used for the and. If I say for the and, now you made a noun out of it. Or the and. That was an adverb making and a verb. I changed it again. Take jurisdiction for how you use it. We start every sentence with for because we found that it was the strongest preposition to start a sentence because it takes you into an argument. Takes you into the facts. Of was then used as the or of the effect. We only have two prepositional phrases in front of the verb. Then you have to define whether or not the possessive knowledge that you've claimed is a plus or minus. Or are you looking for a reward or a damage? These are your nouns: author, contract, terms, claim, fact, and claimant's knowledge. You can put those any place, move all the terms around, and the sentence will still mean the same thing. So there's 6 different ways you can write the sentence forwards, and 6 different ways you can write it backwards, and it will still say the same thing. You know you did it correctly. Advertise syntax on open television or radio or the internet to create awareness of the syntax in the condition of language and then have it voted in. And once it's voted in, then the government will have to change because it's the will of the people, where 51% are going to make changes.
Correct sentence structure, communication, syntax.
Yes, that's quite a deep 15-minute video, Alan, I have to say, listening to that. You know, like, you couldn't go into this not knowing what you're doing. Obviously, he's trying to explain it. But, so basically, what it means is, you can work out whether, when you go to court, your trial, or whatever it is real or not real. Is that it?
What? Say that again?
You can work out whether your case, or trial, is real or not real by the words, how they've written it.
Right.
So that's what you can tell, because there's nothing to do with adverbs. It's all to do with, it's not adverbs, is it? It's other words. I can't remember what he said now.
They're using verb words.
Oh, that's it. Well, all right, the other way around then. They're using adverbs, but they're leaving out lots of other words, aren't they?
Yeah.
Vowels. They're leaving out the vowels.
No, they're leaving out the nouns and the facts. They're using words that are
Oh, right, because you can't be tried for it in court, which is what you said.
Right. Their motto is no law or fact shall be tried in a court of law.
So what you're saying is, not only have we got the bit where we've got maritime law and all the other crap and the Romans and all the other crap we're living under, there's something else they use at court that most people don't understand.
Right.
And this is it, and it's called syntax. Syntax? Syntax. God, get it right, Karen. Syntax. It's how they put the sentences together. It's crazy, Alan. Come on, that's crazy.
It is.
I mean, you've got little Joe Blogs. Yes, my name is Alan. Alan Pettit. Yes, my name's Alan Pettit. Wrong. You should never, I mean, we already know that. You shouldn't say your name. And then, you know, if you say, oh, I'm the victim, you may as well say, I'm guilty.
Right.
You know, you already realise those things. And so there's another set of things in there, this syntax law. So do you want to explain a bit more, Alan, again, for those of us that are stupid? Because obviously Alan's now looking into this because he's realised this is what they use at court.
Okay, every word has a classification to it. Either if the word is a noun, a verb, adverb, or whatever it is, whatever it falls under the category of, it has a number. Each category has a representation of a number. It's either a negative or a positive.
Oh, what you mean? It's a 3 or a 4 or a 2 or a 5, something like that. So an even or an odd number.
But it's either a positive or a negative.
Right.
And when you finish the sentence, and when you add up all the negatives and the positives, it has to even out. It has to be a math. Like he said, how he said.
God, so we're back to numbers again. We're back to numbers.
It's all mathematical.
It's all numbers.
Yeah.
Which is what they say we're run by, is numbers, isn't it? Because, that date comes along, number, 339966 or something like that. Oh, look, it means this. So it's the same thing in the courts.
Right.
Golly.
But the courts aren't doing it. They're not using it.
Only the solicitors are.
Well, the citizens have no clue.
No, solicitors, lawyers.
Well, this guy that we listened to was a chief federal judge. And he goes in there prosecuting judges, lawyers, and police.
That's what his job is when he's making this video. That's what he does.
That's what he has been doing, yeah.
Right. And what is he trying to get the judges for then?
Because they're incompetent with being politically correct.
So the whole of your court case...
In the words that they're using.
So the whole of your court case has to do with being politically correct?
We're correct.
I suppose that you can see that because it is a court and you've got solicitors, lawyers, or whatever you want to call them, barristers. You can see that. So there's no room for being a human there then?
No.
You can't say, I'm what do you call it? I said it. I'm the victim. You're just agreeing then to, you're just agreeing with them when you say that. You don't want to say certain things. So, wow. But we noticed that because Claudio was doing it with law anyway. You know, like in their thing when he was talking about that, if there are S's on the words, that means you cannot legally do anything about that. But if a word ends and there's no S's in it, you can actually go back to court on that one. So it's the same probably sort of thing as this.
Right.
It's amazing, isn't it? Your life could then hang on a letter. You don't even realise it.
Well, there's more to it than that.
Go on then, explain.
Because on their documentation now, there's 2 languages being used.
Right.
English and Dog Latin, which is ancient Latin, or legalese. It's American Sign Language. They removed the hyphen, and you can't write it down anyway, so it's a bunch of babble. And since they have 2 languages on a documentation, that violates the laws of English and Latin. It's null and void.
Right.
And that all caps name that they want you to identify as is a legal fiction. It's a corporation. You don't own it. The state is the agent to it. They own it. But they want you to be responsible for it. And that's how they trick you, by you accepting, giving your consent. Because they have to have your consent. So they get you by tricking you that way. And then they ask you also, are you a United States citizen? Then if you answer yes, then they got you now on that. Because now you're a citizen to the corporation. And you have to fall underneath their laws. Now you've just entered their pirate ship, and you became one of their pirateers.
So you don't really ever want to go to court with one of their lawyers or solicitors. You need one that's into what's the name? I can't remember what it is now. What's the name? Law? Not natural law.
Yeah, natural law.
That's it, natural law. It didn't sound right. natural law. You need one that's into that then, don't you?
Yes. Universal law.
Yeah.
Common law.
So he's even talking about commas. And he even said, if you put the word, it will read, if it's right, it will read the same backwards as front. It means the same thing.
Right. Because English is words or spells. You can read them frontwards and backwards. It's a bastardized language because the world was Hellenized.
So anybody listening in, okay, it's another project now. What would you want them to do, Alan? To go and learn this, to try and understand it?
Yeah, learn their. They need to learn about their status on the land, and that's having the knowledge of.
What do you mean by that?
Of knowing who you are and who you are not.
Oh, right. You mean I say, I am a person. Yes,
No,
my name...
you don't want to be a person because a person is a corporation.
So you just say, I'm
a human, a living being.
Called Karen. You can say that.
That's right.
But you don't use your surname.
Well, no. Only for commerce.
Because we had one.
Yeah.
That I put on here, Alan. It was about this common law. It was common law. That's what I meant to say. Common law, not natural law. It was common law. But the common law solicitor, what she was basically saying was, this guy got done for driving a car without a license, and I didn't know this. So basically, you don't need a car license if you're just driving a car. The only time you need a license is if you're selling something. Or your lorry is selling something, like you've got goods inside. So none of us, so they've lied about that. They get millions of pounds in from duping us to get licenses we don't need. So the whole point, this guy was driving a car without a license. And then the way the police officer was speaking to her, because obviously, basically, she was saying to him, so what you're asking him to do is to use your certificate, which has the crown on it, so it's not his, to prove who he is. So then he'd be breaking the law. Again, because it's not his certificate and he can't use it to do it, but that's what you're asking him to do. And she was very adamant that he was using the car correctly. They knew he wasn't selling anything, so let him go. Otherwise, basically, you're going to be prosecuted and it'll be statutory rape. That's what the solicitor said to this police officer. Do you want to hear a little bit of it?
I don't care.
1 second. Right, Alan and I have just watched the video. I'm going to put it on at the end. It's already been on Sun and Moon, but it's just good hearing it because Alan, it's all the stuff that Alan's talking about. So what were you saying, Alan? A police officer?
Yeah. So anytime a police officer writes you a ticket, like that lady said, he's committing statutory rape on you. He's forcing you to be that legal fiction.
And unfortunately, we stand up and we say we're the legal fiction.
Right.
Because we're in that admiralty law, aren't we, as well? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even get that because it's all about being ships on the water and we're on land. So why is it on land?
It's because the court is on a foreign vessel on dry dock.
Say that again. Say it again.
The judge is sitting on a ship.
Oh, right, the dock.
A foreign ship on dry land.
But that's disgusting. So when you see the judge in front, instead of you thinking he's the judge of this court, he's from another country.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The first thing I said to her that one time was, "I'm not boarding your ship." And I heard her say, "Ship?"
Yeah, because the thing is, if you're only taught one way, you don't realise that it's part of something else. This is the problem we're having when everybody's waking up. Because they're so sure they know everything. And I've thought about it, Alan, like a lot of boys are not engaged at school. They're usually messing around or being naughty. My own children were a bit like it. But, so everybody's learning everything off of the television. That's where they think they're getting educated. It's bad, isn't it?
The computer?
No, well, the television, the computer, they've got you because you think you're being educated, but you're watching the television, which we know lies to you. So if you're watching all that, you're only going to see one way. So if you're only seeing one way, you don't realise that what you're in is a part of something much bigger. That's the problem we have with trying to tell people the truth about everything. Because they don't realise it's part of something else. So, you know, oh yeah, I want Boris in. Oh yeah, I want the Labour Party in. Oh, I want Biden in. I want Trump in. They don't realise that that is just part of something else.
Yep.
And they only see what they see on the television, and you're like for instance what you're trying to explain. When we listened to the video, I said to you about this guy talking here. I said to you, my God, that's so complicated. Well, it is, isn't it? If you've got it's okay for you. You've watched hours of it probably, and you understand exactly what they mean. But she's talking about taking words out, where the commas are. I mean, he's talking about that. It's rather a lot to take on board when you're going to court with a piece of paper with, say, 2 lines on it, and you just don't realise what those lines are.
Right.
So when you're looking at it now, tell people what you're looking for then to help people, because obviously we listened to the video, but so what are we looking for then, Alan?
What, on the documentation?
A ping. We're looking for a ping. A ping came through then. Yeah, what are we looking for?
Like, what do you mean?
Well, you know, if you're suddenly, we've come to this video, there's you and me. This guy talks about stuff that's quite heavy and you get it or you don't get it. But if you're a bit slower, like most of us, what are we looking for then? How do we help ourselves with this?
To understand.
Yeah.
You're looking to understand it better. Get more familiar with it.
Right. Well, obviously, anything with a Crown stamp on it, you cannot use to identify yourself. Otherwise, you're breaking the law by using a certificate which isn't yours to prove who you are. That's one thing I've learned. But, you know, say if suddenly it all happened and all this happened around me, I don't know how I'd be. Because really, I should be standing there going the same thing. I cannot prove who I am because you're asking me to do it through a document that doesn't belong to me. So that bit I understand, but this is quite difficult, Alan.
It works that way because you're the one now in trouble and they're not. Because you were the one that consented and did it. You were the one that got tricked. You were deceived. And what did they say? Those that are deceived, let them be deceived.
I mean, no one ever knows how they're going to react if it happens and this police officer knocks at your door and has all this stuff to say to you. But when they say, "Is this your name?" you're not even supposed to say yes. You're just supposed to say, I'm Karen. But you don't say your surname. You definitely don't say your surname. It all seems, you've got these angry police officer at the door. I don't know how I'd react.
Well,
they can kind of get you because you're like frightened. Oh my God.
Nobody is taught in school how to have a conversation and deal with the police on contracts.
No.
Nobody is taught how to do contracts. But the police, they're trained how to do the contracts, and the lawyers and the judges. They all work together as a team.
So basically you need a common law solicitor then, don't you, for a start?
Right, you got to strip the masks off the judge. She's wearing masks. First mask she's wearing is the admiralty law of the sea.
Yeah,
now
I must admit.
Are you on a pirate ship?
When you go to court now, you're supposed to ask them what their oath is, because often it isn't the oath to the court you're in.
Right.
And then you can say, well, I'm not doing this then.
She takes 2 oaths She took an oath of the office to the Constitution, and she took another oath to the bar of London Crown of policy. See, they're doing policy, which ain't law. All their codes and statutes and their tickets, it's policy. It's not Constitution law. That's why their motto is no law or facts shall be tried in a court of law, because they don't use law or facts. They're using adverb verb wording, which means nothing and no contract.
You said at the beginning that you can't go to court. What was the statement you said, the first one? He said it in the video, that you can't go to court with the facts or something. What's that one? Because that's part of what this is. Hang on.
I'm not sure.
Hang on. You said it at the beginning. It's, was it Alan?
No law or fact shall be tried in a court of law.
So how does that work then?
Because they're not using facts, they're not using law, they're using policy, codes, and statutes. And that's not in the Constitution. They're not honoring the oath to the Constitution and amendments. They're giving their oath
but you're not going
to
to
the
court.
policy, to the Crown.
You're not going to court for the thing then that they're charging you with.
They're not doing common law or natural law. They're doing piracy law, which is policy, codes, and statutes for the Crown, which is connected to the Vatican.
Wow, yeah. No church bit in there then.
When you join their ship, you become a ship. And the Vatican owns all ships, all souls. A ship is a soul. You're a vessel, a soul, a ship. You're a battery, you're a commodity, you're energy, and they're stealing your energy.
Yeah.
We're in a cell battery, and we're held by our DNA bars. We're a genie in a bottle.
Yeah, this whole thing that he's done is kind of working out whether what you're being charged with is real or not real as well, isn't it?
It's fiction on paper. They're doing black magician tricks with ink on paper, using 2 languages.
But how does that work when they're putting people in prison maybe for years on end?
Yeah. They all done it under consent. Ignorance of the knowledge.
Do they know what they're doing then?
Oh yeah, sure they do.
Well, the judge probably does, but maybe there's some of the solicitors, but I don't know. I mean,
Well,
you know,
some of the police officers, they go to school, they're training, they're trained one way, and that's what they go by, and follow orders.
well, how does it? I mean, I don't know. I watched a program once years ago where these
In the military,
these
you're
people
private.
were training to be obviously lawyers, and their first port of call was death row, trying to save people's lives. Do you believe that? I saw a program about it.
What was that?
The lawyers, their first port of call, you know, one of their first soliciting jobs was basically is to try and save people's lives on death row.
Who was that?
These were lawyers, their first job, their training, and this is what they're given.
Huh.
Wow.
I never heard that.
Well, it's just a program I saw on BBC or whatever. We know they lie, but I was just like, wow, their first job is to try and save someone's life.
Oh.
Anyway, that was just something that was on the lying television, so... Yeah, so we basically, it says with the contract, so we obviously just do not understand the contract.
Right.
Right,
Well,
and that's, so it's like, It's not like buying a cooker and that, but it's sort of like that. It's contract.
It's got a lot to do with people just don't know who they are. They think they're that all caps name, and they don't know what it is
Or what it means.
or what it means.
So just for people who might not know, what does it mean, Alan?
Well, that all caps name is just a word mark, and it means a corporation, a dead entity. When you were born, your remains, they took your remains and made a corporation out of it. That's your twin. It was considered a stillbirth. It was considered dead, lost at sea. So it's a dead entity. And now they made a corporation out of it and attached you to it with your consent.
Yeah, because most of us can't wait to rush to the registry office and get the baby registered.
Right. When the mother's in the hospital and has the baby, the doctors come and have her sign the baby give it over to the state right there and then. Now you're just a parent. You're renting a child. Child 8 years no more. The state owns it.
So basically, this is why courts are docks. Because you're going to a ship, basically. So you're not on the land, are you then? You're in a ship.
No. You're in a vessel.
Yeah. So basically, this whole law started when it's to do with the East India Company. I think this is where the independence of America, like what they think is independence, actually is a corporation to the United Kingdom that the Crown owns. So basically, England owns America, basically. The Crown does.
It started with a Roman emperor, Justinian. So they call this beast system the Justinian deception with the all caps language. It's a gloss of text. They removed the hyphens. It's American Sign Language, and you can't write that down, so it means nothing. It's Babel. That's the language of Babylon. It's the B system language, the all caps. It's a deception.
Yeah, we live in a deception.
And this is just insights, words that I'm using because I've done so much research on it.
So, we've been going for a little bit, and we've truly tried to, highlight this whole thing. So, anything else you'd like to say about it, Alan? Because obviously you're looking at it right now. Because you basically got to sort of redo it.
It was very interesting how she brought to my attention about how she said, statutory rape by forcing that entity on her, because that's what more or less she's talking about. Because
basically they're holding him against his will, and
that's kidnapping,
and that's statutory rape.
That's right. They're kidnapping you, and then they're attaching this dead entity onto you.
Yeah, for everybody, that's the last bit of video we're going to show. That's the solicitor with the driver, which is going to be at the end. But I'm glad I found it for you, because it just gave you another... I mean, she was doing it in court. This guy... I don't know. I think it's disgusting. I need to be able to put it in the computer, and then it reads me what it... it gives me back what it really says. Yeah? You need to put it in the computer and it comes back out what it really says.
Mm-hmm.
But our system's not set up for that kind of thing. I mean, I was telling you that, I've made a video. Well, I didn't make the video. I've copied the video. It comes off of BitChute, I think. And it's about this guy in Ireland. And he was in about 1917, but maybe it was about the 1920s. That the people had made a document, and it was an independent document away from the crown, and it became law, and the people won their independence. And then and then what it was is he was saying we wanted to be neutral. We didn't want it with the First World and the Second World War. Ireland didn't want to be involved. And then suddenly, I think because of Northern Ireland being part of the Crown, and then Southern Ireland wasn't, and it had a Prime Minister, they got drawn in, and then once they got drawn into a war, the law changed. And so I said to you before I came on, it's like I make a law, I'm the government, and I say, you can have 20 holidays a year, 5 cars, I'm paying for 2 hotel trips, and all this crap to you. I say all this stuff. Then a war comes in, or it's got to be a disaster where the emergency law comes in. And then when that comes in, they amend everything, and then they sent it back out. And this is what happened then. And so what it was is, he said, the documents are almost the same. He said, but this one is independence from Ireland, and this one is to the Crown. So when they took all the bits out, they obviously put a few bits in, and the document changed, even though it kind of looked the same. And this all happened like at the First and Second World War. And he was explaining that they'd had their independence. I mean, we were all thinking that Ireland, people, maybe they should have it. They've had it. And it's been amended. But then he said, but it doesn't matter even with the president. The president of Ireland, the next port of call is Charles now, because Charles is the king. King Charles III he reports to, just like the one in Northern Ireland. And he said that Sinn Féin was in, they were winning seats, and they'd be saying, oh, we're going to unite Ireland. But really, they'll always be reporting to Prince Charles, and the people think it's independence when it's not. And it's like, wow, that really sort of boggled my mind that he'd noticed all that. Like, he's in Ireland noticing things around him. You're in America noticing things around you. And I'm here and I notice things. Like this bit about all the churches are the same. Like, I can't believe it. Even All Saints, it says, we're giving a modern Catholic way in a Protestant church. How does that work? How can you have Catholic in a Protestant church unless it's Catholic, which it is? I told you that. So even with religion, Protestant means protesting Catholic. It's protesting, but it's said Protestant, but it's actually, when you write the word down, it's protesting, Protestant. And he's not a vicar, he's a father there. So basically, he's a father in a Protestant church. Weird, isn't it? Like, at this time when I'm unravelling it all and seeing it all, and when I talked to him, I didn't realise, I thought when he was telling me that he'd realised that. The church stands for that. And so we never get away from the Romans. And even the guy in Ireland, the Romans, he was talking about it, he said, and the Romans were there, they couldn't let go. And you're like, there you go again, the connection to the Romans. Or the Admiralty, they're part of that as well, aren't they?
Right.
And it's just quite incredible that suddenly, so there is only really the Catholic Church, and all the rest are just spirals of it. And all those people want to believe they've broken away from the Catholic, but they haven't. They're just part of it. And if you have Father, Son and Holy Ghost, which is in a baptism, then that is actually technically a Catholic. And the Protestants have that.
They call them Protestant. So what are they actually protesting against the
Nothing.
Catholic.
They just, because like one day Sven was saying to me,
A meaningless word. Then they're not even protesting. Nothing.
not now. And if they were, there was a 30-year war about it, about
Right.
religion then, back then. But Sven was saying, like he lives down near Bournemouth, which is along the coast, but further along than Brighton. And he was saying that when he was walking around, because obviously he's walking around to look at the buildings for Tartaria, and then he said, there are 13 churches within a mile. And you're like, wow, 13. But really, it's all the same church. But somehow they broke it up, and then they've become all the different churches. And that's why there are 13 of them. Weird, though. And you know what as well? Do you know what as well? I found out when this whole bit about when we broke away from the Catholics, supposedly Henry VIII, it only happened 2 years before he died. I thought it happened when he divorced the other person, but it couldn't have been. And anyway, the Catholics were divorcing. I saw videos. Now he's on his third wife. Yeah, this happened before. Henry VIII didn't need to change the religion for that. So that's just an utter load of rubbish. And it only, in history, I filmed it the other day, I put it on a video. It only happened 2 years before he died. So you think, why is everything changing? Or I must admit though that you get to the internet and it always says something different. It never says, no one ever says the same thing. So it's a bit hard to work anything out, isn't it?
Evolving.
Yeah, but this is quite damning, really. Like, we're at an age where we're a bit older, and it's like, what we get here, and you don't realise there's a whole set of other language which we had no idea about. So when they make these contracts, you said that it tells you whether it's a truthful one or a lie.
Uh-huh.
So why would they lie? Just asking. Why would they add a lie? What? Because they like it. It gives them kicks. The people won't know. They're just being charged or whatever. Why would they lie?
They're not familiar with syntax or grammar, or
So they just make mistakes. They just make mistakes.
They're just making a incomplete statement.
But you can catch them that way.
They're second grade reading level.
But you can catch them that way, yeah? You can catch them out.
Huh?
You can catch them out that way.
Yeah.
Carry on. What were you going to say? Sorry. Oh, sorry, Alan. It's just I thought you've just got to catch them out. That's what your aim is. So you look at a document,
right.
And once you can see the mistakes, what do? You say, I'm not dealing with this. It's wrong.
Yeah, because if they don't correct their mistakes, you have to correct them for them.
So that means that you've got to counteract them the same then?
Yeah.
Is that what you're learning? Like, when this is what you're learning is how to counteract them?
Yep.
And how long has it taken you so far to understand this?
Quite a few years. I just fell into this syntax not too long ago.
Yeah.
That was like the last piece of the puzzle.
And it's going to help, anybody that's watched this, hopefully it's going to help you a bit. Because you don't realise the contract you're in.
Right.
It's quite horrible, isn't it?
People don't understand the spell they've been put under with language.
Yeah.
See, they gave us this language for this very reason. To put you under a spell. To enslave you.
So what? So basically you need a common law solicitor.
There's an exoteric way of speaking and an esoteric way of speaking. They hold the esoteric knowledge and they teach us the exoteric. That's how they stay in control.
So what was this guy's job to do then?
Well, he was a federal chief judge. He was also a president to Hawaii. He wrote up a bunch of constitutions and stuff. He said he's tried a lot of judges and lawyers and police. He says that these judges and that they run out of the courtroom whenever he comes in. They know they're in violation and they're caught. I mean, how else are you gonna deal with these pirates? They're talking to you in double speak. They're deceiving you.
So who is he working for exactly, though? I know you said his title, but is he really working for the people, or is he still working for them?
Well, that's just it. How can he? He's a lawyer also. He's a judge. He was trained just like all the others. He's a Freemason. He's even come out and said he's a Freemason. So he must be a controlled opposition. He's just spilling some truth, telling you how they do it, like they have to. Just like David Icke and Jordan Maxwell or any of these so-called whistleblowers that are controlled oppositions. A lot of the people that are putting out these YouTube videos, you know, they're all controlled oppositions. But they got a lot of knowledge. They tell you a lot of truth, but mixed with lies. Keep you confused.
Yeah, damn right. Listening to the video of him, I'm not saying I didn't understand a lot of it, but it just starts getting complicated, and you're like, oh god, yeah.
I mean, the human can fall into traps so easily because he's so gullible, so easy to deceive. You know, you can't tell a person he's been lied to, but it's easier to lie to a person than tell them that you've been lied to. They'll believe the lies, but not the truth. Because the truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, well, we don't live in a real place as it is. It's fantasy to start with. They can't even tell us the truth about history or what's really happened.
And the big one now is that we're just in a simulation.
What, we are a simulation?
Are we?
Well, the sun comes up like that.
What kind of a simulation? Like that David said, black or black. Well, there's many shades.
It's like we're in Tron or something.
In what?
It's like we live in Tron. The film Tron.
In what?
The film Tron.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, it was in the 80s or something. 90s.
Okay.
80s, 90s. Yeah. Anyway, it's just, even when you think you know everything, you realise you don't know anything.
Right. Everything's a theory.
There's so much of it. Whoever made all this up was damn clever.
Right.
Because they are doing it. It's almost like it's not happening, but it is. You can ignore it, but it's happening. And, you know, anybody who's got a court case, think about it. Just think about some of what Alan said. Or, you know, someone that's got a court case coming, show them this video. Maybe it will help them.
Right. And I sit back and I think every day that they're doing that in the courtroom to people.
Yeah, but that's just theatre, isn't it? And they love it. And to be honest, I was going to say, you know, like, what if, not maybe yesterday, but a few months ago was that Johnny Depp case where we had court all over the screen and it was pathetic. And that's what they're showing you courts are like.
Well, I don't believe anything on TV.
No.
Just like the O.J. Simpson case and Charles Manson case.
Yeah, you can't say too much. Yeah, you can't say too much, Alan.
Yeah, they're all hoax.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything was not real. None of it. Oh, that is just so disappointing, though. Things that you really thought were real aren't. But mine started, that day, 2001. So that's when I really woke up. I mean, there was things that weren't right and were happening, and I didn't like them, and I could see things weren't working. But when I hit that, and I thought, what, they did it to us? Oh my God! Like, I was awake then, but not at the time. Like, I mean, yeah, at the time I kept, everybody watched it, that, what was happening again and again and again and again. And then it was a few years later.
When did you start going on the computer?
Before that, but I just hit YouTube, and suddenly down there it said HOAX, and I thought, well, I've got to go and look at that. And I just thought, and then, like Pilots for Truth, then I watched that one, you can't fly a plane.
So you've been on the computer for like 23 years?
No, I didn't have one for a while, they weren't so big for us. When, some people had one and some people didn't. And then probably in the 90s it started to really kick off, and then suddenly, we've all got computers.
What was the first thing that you woke up to?
What was happening around me on a building plot thing behind me. It's just so strange. This side of the little tiny fence, it was a greenfield area where I had to get permission to do anything. And just the other side of that piece of wood was a brown field site where they could do what they wanted.
When did you learn about flat Earth?
2016. I went to debunk it. Someone else was going to do...
That's about the time I fell into it too.
Nibiru. She was going to debunk Nibiru.
But I never went in to try to debunk it.
Yeah, that's why I went to see it. I went to watch a few videos to see what I thought. And then I hit, the first one I hit was...
see what it was about,
First one I hit was Water Seeks Its Level. And then I thought of all those miles and miles of ocean. And I thought, Water Seeks Its Level. Oh my God. Right. And then you spent the next 3 years making, well, in the end I made Facebook groups and things. And then... Some
people say that they researched it for like 8-10 months. It only took me 1 day.
It took me one day, it took me a couple of videos, but because it was so different, and say you went to your friend, guess what, I think we're FLAT, and they go, oh, don't be stupid. So you think, well, I'll go and watch a bit more then, and then the more you watch, and then you've got to disprove yourself that you thought that it was that.
It was like I was already ready to hear it. It was like I was wired for it.
Yeah, well, obviously I was. But when it was mentioned, I said no for a month. So that would have been the end of 2015. I would have looked at it. But I said no then. Well,
I remember in grade school, I was telling the class people in my class that ain't no ball spinning. I was telling them back then it was flat, not fucking a ball.
I mean, you can't make anybody wake up. But I said no to start with, and then a month or two later I said, oh my God, Water Seeks Its Level. That was it for me. But then you just spend months, like, not that fateful day, the other one, 9, what's the name? I spent hours and hours looking at that, and I found such brilliant stuff. But now you go onto YouTube, you have to get to about page 6 before you see a building going down. Like, how could they drastically change it when it happened the way it did? And so what if we have a different opinion, or we notice the things weren't right? So that's why it's all been changed, because things weren't right.
How come we ain't been hearing about the Mandela effect lately?
Well, I think it's always like that, because do you know
it came in and it kind of went away, but little pieces of it still stick around.
It now says, because I saw it, that up until the year 2000 we were in a mini ice age. When have you ever heard that?
Right.
And it's a bit, but do you think that the more that we understand, and the more people that kind of wake up, or the truth, or whatever it is, the more that happens, then that's when the Mandela effect comes in, because things are changing all the time, even they're changing things, and that's what causes the Mandela effect, sort of.
Right.
Not on everything, but maybe that's what helps to cause it. I don't know. But they're changing, like, you know, I did this video where Gaddafi was Saddam Hussein. It's like, they're so similar. You know, people notice that. And you're like, how can this be? So that puts all that into question, doesn't it, out there then? You're like, for God's sake.
Right.
I mean, that's maybe where they really started to do it, because that was before that fateful day and then after that fateful day. So maybe that's where they started to really use us with the television. I mean, we'd obviously thought the other things were real. It's just disgusting how they would want to do that, to make this whole fake life.
Well, you know, they brought out the flat Earth like in the 80s and 90s a little bit.
No, it was before. It was always going. There was this guy and his wife, and then
I never heard about it, you know.
It was on the internet. It was hard copy. You know, you could find articles on the internet, but there wasn't really any videos.
And a lot of people go on the internet. They don't do no research.
Yeah, because what they've done is the internet has made sure that you have to see everything in about 30 seconds. It goes wham, 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 done. And because talking about this stuff can take hours.
Right.
And even when you start talking about something, it always leads into something else because it's always connected to something else. You know, like what you're talking about, the law, that's one thing. But, you know, we've had the guy in New Zealand, I can't think of his name now, and I know his name. I was looking at his videos the other day. But he was in education, and he was working out that they've made sure that anxiety is a really big thing for us because it makes money. And they use it obviously for things, and he was just saying people think that they have wisdom, but they're not. All they're doing is giving someone else their anxiety rather than wisdom. And he was politically correct. He was brilliant. I can't think what his name was now. Anyway, you know, you've got all that, and it's like even all that's used. And he did the 8 laws of anxiety. And how they've totally messed up education. He was hoping that education would listen to him, and then he got a bit upset that they didn't, and then he moved and he went very silent. But he's a very clever man. But he thought, I've got it. I'm the one that's found it. But he was part of it because there's just so many parts of it. Isn't there, Alan? Every time you look into something, it just completely leads into another great big cave of something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we realise we don't know very much at the end of the day. But it would have been nice if we'd been born into something real and good, but it isn't here. It just isn't.
Right.
Anyway, shall we finish now?
Okay.
We've gone on a bit, so we've got that man's video, we've got our talk, and then we've got the lady at the end, she'll play afterwards. And you want everybody to do some more homework now and learn some more stuff, Alan.
Yeah. The more times you can hear it, the more you remember it.
Yeah, even if it takes hours and hours, but it usually does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the way it is, because that's what they've put us in something where we don't really have the answers, and then you stumble across things, and then, you know, people put things together. Like, he's a judge, and he's put it together.
When I started back in, like, 2016, all the videos I'd watch, I'd take notes. And I'd write down the videos, everything. I got notebooks full, you know. And then I stopped writing them all down, but I still take notes.
Because it's a journey, isn't it?
Yeah, and all the people that I researched, it got up to a point where it got up to 35. I got up to my 35th person that I've researched now. You know, I got all their knowledge, all 35 people. And I just stopped counting after that.
Yeah, they weren't expecting the
It must be
people.
into the hundreds by now, you know.
They weren't expecting the people to be intelligent enough.
Right.
Because obviously our parents let all this go. You don't hear our parents talking like us. My parents think I'm crazy.
Right. Anytime I'd ever ask my dad something, he'd say, I don't know. He didn't know nothing.
Yes. I don't understand, because it's not about age, it's not about which sex you are, but in about 2015.
That was the age of no information knowledge. Hardly any of it given. They were just good little working slaves, 9 to 5, raising their families.
But something happened the end of 2015 to 2016 where many people suddenly just woke up.
Once we got to the 60s.
Huh?
Yeah, once we got to the 60s.
Well,
in the culture club.
We're from there because we're the children from there.
Yep.
But then suddenly, you know, but some people were young when it's happened, and some people are younger than us, and some people were older. It wasn't about age or which sex you were. Just people woke up, and many people did. It's great though, but lots of people didn't, or didn't care.
No.
You've got to care. If you care, you wake up.
Yeah.
And it is a process because, you know, it's hard to believe that they would do this to us, but they do.
Those are the people that don't want to think that. They can't accept that they were lied to, misled.
Yeah, because they wouldn't treat other people like that, probably. And it is hard, because it's hard to, you know, like when you break down the videos and you realise that nearly all of them are just cartoons, it's because they're all made. The black eyes, eyes.
We're called generation breakers.
Yeah.
Because the years of generations of being indoctrinated from your parents, from your grandparents and back, you know, that's why they think we're crazy.
But, you know, we don't really live here for that long. Why couldn't we have just had nice lives? Why does everybody have to work so hard, or there's so many bills? See, we're just slaves. We're just the animals in their game. You know, they're testing things out on you all the time, whether your mind and your body.
They threw competition out there. The world is a competition, a battle. Who's going to get that job?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We should be making community. That's what we should be making.
You go to school and you got the kids competing against other schools. What school's better?
It's hard to believe in the First and Second World War when they talk about comradeship with the people. It's hard to believe they did, because today everybody's so cold. You know, the thought of wars will make us stay in our houses more. Yet in the Second World War, everybody was together, and I just don't see it.
Right.
I don't know, but I don't see any of their stuff. It's just all fake. I don't know how they do it, but they do. If you didn't know better, you know there's films where suddenly they wake up and they say, what do you mean those thoughts aren't real? Well, I've got thoughts of family. Oh no, we implanted all those thoughts in you. As long as it's not something like that. Yeah. I mean, I actually think it's quite incredible, Alan, that, you know, you are thousands of miles away from me, and yet there's no time delay whatsoever. It's like you're here.
Right.
Because there's no time delay.
We're still in the same time, the present.
Yeah, even though we're not. Because I'm hours ahead of you.
Isn't that incredible how fast sound can travel from my computer to yours?
I know, everything's...
Instantly.
Yeah.
That's fast.
Yes, especially as there's supposed to be a cable under the sea all the way to you.
Hey, what's faster than the speed of light? Sound.
Yeah, I know, but there's no delay. It's like a brain
Right.
thinking almost. Like, like you don't even hear yourself think, but it's that quick.
Really, it's like you were right here, like you said.
It's not like I say, Alan, and you go, yes? And I go, oh, he's got time delay. There is no time delay. Come on, that's just amazing. That bit is amazing.
Technology.
Yeah. Well, I think it's Tartarian probably, and it's just it's a bit spiced up now. Because if they had it,
that's like a miracle in a way, but not really, because we were able to create it and do it. So it is a miracle. A miracle is something supernaturally, and there ain't no supernatural.
and also, you know what they say about like road maps? They said we got that because the army were onto something better now, so we got the hand-me-downs from the army with road maps. And you think, wow, it's quite brilliant road maps when it works properly.
Right.
So wow, that's a cast off. What are they on now then? It's hard to.
Yeah, they're way ahead.
See,
they have this stuff. Hey, there's nothing new under the sun. They've always had this technology from the beginning.
Yeah, that's why I think it comes top. This is why the Tartarians were far more advanced. Something's happened, and then they've managed to pick it up and carry it on somehow.
Right.
It's the same with televisions. I mean, even now we're looking at a screen, and there's I mean, he is a bit blurred. This isn't very good quality, this video. But, he's standing there, and, you've got a vision on your screen. Wow. Just there. It just happens. You can read, some of the words on the picture. I think that's quite incredible. How does that happen?
That's like the magical looking glass.
Yeah.
It is the magic looking glass. This computer, they had it back then. The magic looking glass back then was just called the magic looking glass.
Yeah.
They renamed it.
Yeah.
This technology. They had phone capability all the way back as far as you can go.
Yeah.
And then they say the fallen angels came and gave all this technology. And made it with the humans and made the Nephilim, giants. How much of that can we believe?
I don't know anymore what we can believe.
Well, I don't believe there's no sky daddies, so why would I believe there's angels? Right? If you believe any of it, you're going to have to believe it all.
It is quite hard. I said it myself in videos. It's a bit like we've grown up with your football team. Chelsea's blue and Man United's red. They're colours, red and blue. So things are in colours. You've got your teams. You've got this, that, or whatever. You've got to let go of all of this somehow and look at it differently if you can. You've got to let go of it all. You realise that everything is set up for the system that we're in. And it's not easy because obviously we live in it. But, with our friends, and we're probably more introverted now because of that. Because we can't really go out because the rest of the people out there believe in the Roman thing. And
what do you believe in?
Well, we did. We used to be in it, but then we knew that something was wrong.
I know. I still catch myself praying.
What, you wake up and you think, oh, that was all a dream. We're floating around space.
Well, a lot of times in my dream, I know I'm dreaming.
The thing is that it was simple when we believed in that because it was just, oh, that's right. Oh, I see now. Oh, yeah, you're just getting on with what they've told you. But when you wake up, it's like an abyss. It is so big, the knowledge. And I'm sorry, when you start learning all this stuff, I don't know if we were intelligent anyway. But all of us are like, what do you call it? eccentric. We're all a bit eccentric. Because we're just, well, that's what people will call us, but we're just quite, we don't mean to be clever. I mean, Mickey's like it. Amy,
what I find is
everybody.
really strange is when I'm having a dream and I know I'm dreaming, I think, who do I want to see? And I think, Karen. And I look over there, there you are.
Oh.
And I walk over there and say, hey, Karen. And I give you a big kiss.
You cheeky man. Aww. But you know, in dreams, Alan, you can walk ahead, walk around it, look at it, be in it, smell it, feel it, and also look at it, go over there. You know, you're in it and you can look at it. It's different in a dream, though.
But you're seeing something. You're seeing. You know what I'm saying? You're visualizing a vision. Now you're visualizing what you're thinking into like a motion picture. You're giving yourself a motion picture.
Hmm.
And that's incredible there.
Yeah, while you're asleep and don't know you're doing
do
it.
that when you're sleeping in a dream?
Yeah.
Why can't you do it when you're awake?
Well, some of us daydream, don't we?
I think we should be capable, but like they've dumbed us down so much, we've lost a lot of our abilities.
I think we used to be somewhere along the line.
They've gotten us forgotten who the hell we are.
I think we used to be a bit more telepathic.
They got us believing we're a dead entity, a legal fiction.
That's another reason why they wouldn't want us to be around anybody, because I think we're a bit more telepathic than they're telling us. But if we're all in our houses and can't connect with people, that can't happen. Because before there was any language, there was thought. And how can you have any thought without a language? How can you think of anything if you don't know what it is, or what it's called, or what, you know? Well, do you know what as well, Alan? I know we sort of changed the subject a bit now, but I've asked quite a few people. I think my children probably vote, but I ask a lot of people. I say, do you vote? No, don't vote, don't vote, don't vote, don't vote, don't vote. It's like, it's hard to believe. You know, everybody I know don't vote. They don't vote? No. No, I've never voted. I think they're so lying with how many people don't vote. It's, you know, when they give the votes, it's probably you know, when they give 2/3 didn't vote for the winner, that's probably the people who voted. And then the winner, that's just a lie, because they are selected, not elected. What is it? Because I met an MP, and when he wasn't the MP, he was quite nice. He helped me with this housing project behind my house, where this great big building, 3 gardens wide, was being built, but we had no say-so, and it was backing onto our garden. And this guy had managed to get all these laws before we even knew about it, because he pinned them so far away you'd never know that adjoined our garden. So he got involved with that. He brought his people around. It wasn't legally binding, but he helped. And then I remember when he lost being MP. And I said to him, I saw him. And I said, when he was doing it, he was on the bridge. I said, if you don't smile, Mr. Benyon, everybody's going to know you've lost. And then after that, when he became MP, he totally changed. And then they changed how MPs are. Like, you used to be able to go to your MP, and then he would say, okay, well, I'll write to them, or I'll help you with that. And then when I had this whole case with the Ombudsman, where I felt it was fraud, which it was, but it wasn't deemed that way legally, but it was, I asked him to help me, and he said, I can't help you. And then I asked him to help me with my daughter about something. I can't help you. And in the end, I'm saying, well, what can you help us with? Because what is it? Do you just want the cup of tea at the House of Commons? Because I said, that's all you're doing. You're not helping anybody. I said, you, a multi-millionaire? You're not doing anything. He never really replied to all those. I was so angry that MPs can't help you. So with education, you have to go to the school governors. With money or health, you have to go to ombudsmans. And ombudsmans are government bodies paid to do nothing, because they can never really help you. And so they're being paid to do nothing. They make you wait years, and then they say they can't help you. So that's what an ombudsman does. So it's a government body being paid. The whole structure is going to be paid millions of pounds a year to do nothing and make jobs which don't exist because they can't help you. Well, they exist, but they can't help you. And that was before 2016. I just couldn't believe what they did. It was fraud, what happened. Just the way they added a product to your account that you didn't even know you had. And so,
Right.
When something like that happens, the chief executive is written to because someone's noticed it. And then what it is after that, any computer about you is wrong because it has the wrong figures. It doesn't matter whether it's £20, £50. It's still showing wrong figures about your debt and your where your balance is. Whether you've got a good credit rating or a bad one, and it will affect that. So the chief executive is known for two reasons, and so all that. And what they did was they allowed something that was totally different to the PPI. We had to, because it was a PPI product, they stuck us in the PPI, but it's not. When you've got wrong charges put on your account, that the product would never have worked for me. So I would never have gone for it. And when it's put onto your account and you didn't even know you didn't realise that that's what it was, and they've been that's fraud, because they should have given it, things for me turned into a loan. So it went on, and they only gave me a bit of it back. I was so angry because it wasn't anything to do with the PPI fiasco we had. This was wrong charges put on your account. And other laws could have been there. I looked it all up because they wanted to do it through consequential loss. And I said that there was some act of 1963 which was different. And it means that you refund all the money because you knew that there was a problem. And they didn't listen to me at all. They made me wait 5 years, even though I worked it all out. But I worked it out, as you always do, too late. I didn't really know what I was doing to start with, but I had to, like I was faced with these big documents, all in that legally, like court stuff. But I realised that the chief executive, any problems is always alerted. But then they got rid of that chief executive and another one came in. And you know what that means? That means the responsibility to you just went. Because they can't hold that person accountable. He's moved on now. Oh, well, that wasn't me. That wasn't me who did that. That's how they do it. But basically, the bank is trading in fraud. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of us because what they did was they don't do it like this anymore, but they used to put a number on the back of your card and it said to activate the card, ring up this number to activate. So everybody that rang that number had the product put onto their account without their permission. It was a glitch. And the bank told me the bank knew. And the ombudsman still went with the bank. And the ombudsman saw that what they did was they never sent me my information first. They sent it to the ombudsman, which breaks the law, and the bank broke the law doing it. And what it was is I told she's called the independent assessor. So at the end of the line, there's the independent assessor with the ombudsman. And I told her what was going on. And then she said, well, you're going to have a senior ombudsman look at your case. So I waited for that. And then he went with the first one. But I said no, because I should have had my information first. So the last person, she can't change your case for you. She looks at the merit of how they treated you and what went on, and she went against them. But she couldn't change the case. And that's what they did to me. And they spent that was about 6 years of my life trying to do that. Mm-hmm. And so they're liars and it's fraud because I had wrong charges put on my account. And what it was is at times the ombudsman told me that there was a number of us and we were waiting to be dealt with. So I know it was that. So the ombudsman knew. But at the end of the day, they stuck us back with the PPI. It didn't go separately because the law would have had to have changed again. Because the ombudsman has the same status as a judge. So if the ombudsman changed anything, it's like a judge doing it. Oh, I was so angry, and then I realised that the ombudsman, were being paid millions of pounds. I asked them all to resign. I said, you need to resign. Mm-hmm. Oh, I wrote very detailed. I was so disgusted, but I was right, but too late. Because I got in touch with another body, and they said you had to report this within 6 months, and I'm now 4 years down. I realised into the case, I was too late. I even went to the fraud squad. Maybe they weren't interested, but I know it was fraud. But then if they went with my case, then basically all the banks would be shown that they were trading in fraud because they all did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting to do this to the people. Just lying all the time. So anyway, I found all that. So yeah, but it's just disgusting to think that our whole lives run around this game that you don't even understand is happening.
Right.
So appreciate very much that you came to me with this information, Alan, because, you know, maybe
Okay.
people understand a bit better now that you're in a contract and you better understand the contract. Is that about right?
Right.
Okay, so thanks, Alan. So we should finish now?
Okay.
Or do you want to say anything else?
Can't think of anything right now.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks very much, Alan.
Yeah.
We'll listen to the solicitor now. Thanks, Alan, and yeah, we'll probably have another hangout about this later on.
Okay.
All right, my darling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay, so you've had a problem with who?
Basically, I've come across a male. I don't know his name. He's presented himself as called Minister Emerson.
Yeah.
He's basically driving around in a vehicle that has no valid insurance, that we believe, and the vehicle wasn't registered on our systems, on the police constabulary systems. It was registration ULCT 944, if I recall. We brought him through to custody because obviously there's a legal requirement to provide a police officer with details in terms of name, address and date of birth, etc., just so that we can establish that there's no offences in terms of driving without insurance or licence and things. And this male's quite adamant that he's not providing us with any further details other than the documentation that he has provided, which has brought me to a bit of a predicament now because we're currently in a situation where we're obviously stuck with regards to who this chap is. I've just had a look on Google in relation to the Universal Law Communities Trust, which is something that's very new to myself, and all the documentation that he provided me had this is on the letterhead, if you will. And I'm just wondering, really, are you guys aware of who this male might be, or do you know of the registration of that vehicle, or are you able to assist in any sort of way?
ULCT 944 is one of our private conveyances, and the Minister Emerson who you have there is recorded inside our rolls. What is it that you require?
Well, the problem, as I say, standard practice from my side of things, I know that my vehicle registration is registered with the Motor Insurance Bureau and DVLA, and obviously I have to pay insurance on that vehicle.
Right.
Due to the fact that I've not been able to establish that that's the case with this vehicle, as it stands at the moment, I've sadly had to arrest this male to ascertain his details and find out whether he obviously has legitimate insurance for his vehicle, whether he has a driving licence with the vehicle.
Like you said, obviously this information hasn't been filtered down. We are the secured party creditors of HM government who have or did licence the local police officers to act on their behalf as their private corporation. We are their secured party creditors and we've been that since February. All of the registration documents are held under non-disclosure. We will obviously provide any legal documents such as driving licenses or insurance on proof of valid claim that conveyance was being used for commercial activities. So can you tell me what commerce was that man committing?
What commerce? I'll be honest with you, you've lost me a little bit there.
Okay.
In relation to the usage of the vehicle, he was driving down a public highway.
Okay, let me just stop you there.
Oh.
It only becomes a vehicle if it has got DVL plates on there. And what we've actually done is the VIN number is actually what he has the right of use of, and that is what's assigned to the trust. Now, our records here show that yes, he has got an indemnity cover to cover him for any accident or harm, loss or damage that he causes anybody else, unless he's committing commerce, i.e. he's a taxi, or he's for hire or rent, or that it's a bus or a lorry.
Okay.
Is the conveyance that you're calling a vehicle, does it fit any of those descriptions, and is he being paid to be conveying himself in that conveyance?
No.
Right. Okay. So, I'm looking at the record here. He has got all of those things that you would require if he was in commerce.
Okay.
And so in order for me to release the information to you guys, you're acting under legislation which is applicable only to commercial vehicles, or legal fictions, companies, corporations, and by us doing what we've done, we're reserving all of the rights of the people from being presumed to be in commerce.
Okay. So that still leaves me in a bit of a predicament though. Because at the moment I've got a chap in his mid-60s that's currently sat in a police cell.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously there are certain laws that we need to abide by.
There
to
are.
Be able to
The law
release
is,
him.
the law, right, okay, so the law is that it's actually against the law to coerce somebody to commit an act of fraud. Now, what you're actually asking him to do, you want him to identify himself with the documentation that I've got here that's reserved under a non-disclosure, unless he is committing commerce. Now, if he is committing commerce, then I'm more than happy to release this information to you. But as you've just stated, he's not committing commerce. So really, I mean, I know it's a bit of a shock for you guys, but it's you guys that are actually breaking the law by coercing him into committing fraud, because the legal fiction that you want him to use is actually a copyrighted logo belonging to Crown Corporation.
Okay.
Now, if this goes any further, then obviously you'll keep him for 72 hours, obviously, if you can. Not that there's any point in doing so, because it's just going to cost your private corporation that's registered in the company's house as a private corporation with a tax reference number, and we're actually your secured party creditors. So what you're actually doing is a double whammy, because you're trying to get him to claim against himself. Now, you know yourself, if I haven't got the right of use of something and I use it, I'm twocking in the least, aren't I? I'm taking without consent, or it's attempted theft or theft.
Okay.
Now, imagine that your name, that legal fiction, is a copyrighted logo and you haven't got the right of use of it. So we contacted HM Government and the Home Office and said, has anybody got the right of use of a legal fiction in the capitalised form of the given name? And they said no. If you look at the birth certificate, it's got Crown copyright on the bottom of it, and it says not to be used for ID. Now, at the moment, I didn't get your number. What was your name again?
My name?
Yeah.
I don't know whether I want to tell you that.
Yeah,
no, my name is Lee Butterworth.
Lee Butterworth. I mean, it's not. We're trying to help the people of the country, you know, to establish their rights and to get rid of this administrative system that has been professing to be law. Legal isn't lawful if it causes us to break the law. And because, like I said, the Home Office have said that we haven't got a right of use of anything that's Crown copyright, then you actually trying to coerce him into using something that's been copyrighted by the Crown, because that's all you can recognise, in order for you to actually, what you're actually doing is you're prosecuting him for using something that's not his.
Okay.
So,
interesting. Very interesting. So where do we stand with this chap then? Because unfortunately, like you say, we're not in a position to release him from custody until we can establish whether he has got valid insurance or a valid driving licence and stuff.
He has. He only needs a driving licence if, like I say, he's in commerce, if he's driving a vehicle. So the words driving, if you look at the Black's Law Dictionary and any law dictionary, it is actually a commercial definition. Vehicle is also a commercial definition. To use a conveyance, on the other hand, is in your private capacity, which is why he's got those number plates on. If he put the DVL plates on there, he would be implying that he was in commerce, and that would be contract with the system that you unfortunately are calling the law, which is actually legal civil code, and it's commercial code. Now, the situation is at the moment, Lee, is that our counterclaim would be against you for false claim, abduction, and coercing somebody to commit fraud, which is 7 years. If you are wearing a uniform and you attempt to force somebody to identify themselves, you're actually guilty or immediately of statutory rape. And this is actually in your police...
Statutory rape?
Statutory rape. You're attempting to rape him of his universal rights by getting him to diminish himself into being and joindering as a non-entity, as a legal fiction.
Right, okay.
So
I think I'm going to have to have a chat with my sergeant and my inspector, and we'll try and establish where we need to go with it.
Okay, he is under...
Are you happy to be recontacted if need be?
Of course, I'm the trustee of his trust, and so he's done the right thing giving you the number. And like I say, if it can be proved that he is committing commerce, I'm more than happy to release those documents to you, but I do need proof of claim.
Okay, right, leave that with me if you don't mind. I've obviously got a contact number to be able to give you a call back if need be.
Okay.
And we'll try and see where we need to go.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for calling.
Okay, thank you for your time. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.